What's up, everybody? Happy weekend to one and all, and welcome to your September 26th, 2020 edition of the Winged Eagle Podcast, the final Winged Eagle Podcast in my current residence. As you can probably tell, as the smaller video box and a completely stark white wall behind me, I'm in the process of moving. I move on Monday morning, so I'm sitting here pretty much in an empty apartment with all my shit stacked in the living room, and it's just me and my computers and a wall behind me, and that is it. So it's going to be a little bit weird this weekend. This is how things are going to look. I look like I stalled on YouTube. Can you guys hear me?
Final.
All right, I'm here. Good. That made me worried. We had some audio difficulties a couple of weeks ago, so just want to make sure we're all good to go. But tonight and tomorrow night, immediately following Clash of Champions, this is kind of how the podcast is going to look. And then I'm jumping in a moving truck on Monday morning and heading to my new residence. So it's going to be a little bit more of a transition here in the next couple of weeks in terms of podcasting and stuff. But I will give you my schedule and what I plan to do this week a little bit later on as we go through more of the introduction here. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. We got the big pay-per-view tomorrow. I also apologize for postponing this podcast 30 minutes. I just wasn't quite ready today. It's been a super busy week. I haven't taken any days off. So not only am I in the process of moving, I got to work every day, and then I got to watch wrestling and do all this stuff. So I needed just a little bit of extra time today to get everything nice. But I think we are set. So in this episode, we're going to get into a little bit of wrestling news. We're going to talk about the COVID outbreak that apparently has hit AEW. We're going to pay tribute to Road Warrior Animal. A little bit of news on The Rock. We're going to talk about the wonderful Retribution angle currently ongoing right now on Raw. We'll discuss both Wednesday night shows pretty quickly. We're not going to go into huge detail on either one because I didn't think either show was NXT or AEW's strongest this week, but we have some new number one contenders. We had some interesting Dynamite stuff, so we will touch on that. We'll finish up with last night's SmackDown, which was actually a really good show. I had to work, so I'm kind of reading Twitter, and everything I'm seeing on SmackDown, on social media regarding SmackDown last night was negative. Worst show of the year. What the hell is WWE doing? This is a mess. And I thought to myself, great. That means I get to go home and I don't really have to watch it. It's kind of unnecessary anyway because we have the pay-per-view tomorrow and everything that's going on SmackDown will probably just be building up to Clash. But when I got home and took a look at the show, it was not bad at all. I don't know what people are talking about. I actually thought SmackDown was really good last night. So we will talk about a couple of the cool things that happened last night. And then at the very end, we will predict the full Clash of Champions card. I know my predictions are coming late, about 24 hours before the show starts, but that's the way we roll here on the Good Mic Work channel. So tomorrow night, I'll be live tweeting during the show, and then immediately following Clash, the final live stream from this apartment will be taking place, and we'll review the whole show. Just as a reminder, no Monday Night Raw review this coming Monday because I might not even have my internet up and running yet, and I'm going to be in the middle of unpacking and shit like that. So no Raw review on Monday. And in terms of next Saturday's Winged Eagle podcast, I think we're going to skip it and just do a TakeOver review. TakeOver is Saturday, right? October 4th. So I'm going to watch the pay-per-view. We'll come up and do a review. And any wrestling news worth talking about, we'll talk about Saturday night because I really need to concentrate on just getting my new place set up next week. I'd like to come up and do predictions. I probably won't, but if I do, maybe it can be like a quick 10-minute video or something like that. We'll see how it goes. But otherwise, this will probably be the last time you see my face live until 1 week from today, simply because of the move. After that, we're back balls to the wall, and things will be back to normal. And I appreciate you guys being patient and all that good stuff. So anyway, let me say hello to chat people. What's up, Devlin Husband? What's going on, Big J and Antoine? Good to see you as always, Ben Espinoza, Jet the Hawk, Ernie, Abraham, chat site. Good to see you, man. No, Laura. And we've got Vontae Page. You know what, man? I got to shout out my man Vontae Page because I've been thinking about this for a long time. You know how like all of the other YouTube channels and, they have like names for their fans. Like it's always an army. It's a so-and-so army or whatever. And I kind of wanted to do something like that for our community, but I didn't want to use army. And I can never think of like what a good, like cool name for our group could be. I think Vontae just nailed it right on the head. We're a family. So let's start thinking of ourselves like that, the GMW family, the Good Mic Work family, whatever you want to call it. I think that's a nice, pleasant name for our crew of people because everybody here are pretty awesome listeners, and we're all somewhat normal, which is also cool. So I appreciate you guys being here. As always, you're the best. You're my family. Also, speaking of family, the people that keep this channel rolling on a financial level and in terms of donations and stuff, I want to shout out everybody on Patreon right now, including the Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carta, Scotty Cure, Brandon Yelverton, Michael Tong, Nick Musser, K-Dog's Kennel, Devlin Husband, Ryan Y. Devlin, by the way, I met a guy yesterday also with the last name Husband. I'd never heard that last name before. Thought it was cool. Steve Myers, the Double Z TV, Brett Luckfield, John Redifer, Claudio Klebedetcher, Jordan Karg, Daniel Rodriguez, Barry MK400, Josiah Blevins, Mr. Steve, Scott Moss, Domanian Ewell, John Riffle, Michael Cuomo, Navid, Keith Salyers, Nathan Walker, Blake Moran, and Alex Reynolds. Thanks again, as always, for your lifetime of support. You guys are the absolute best. If you would like to support this channel in any way, you can do that over on patreon.com at Good Mic Work right now. Sign up, and I'll do my best to give you as much love as possible. Appreciate everybody. Also, I want to knock out this $5 super duper from Crash. Thank you, man. What was your exact reaction when you heard the news about Animal? Where were you and what were you doing? We're going to open up with that. I'm going to save that, Crash, because I'm about to talk about your entire question there in just 1 second. I just want to make sure that I got everything out of the way. I did. We are going to open up with Road Warrior Animal. I got my schedule done. Told you guys what's in store for tomorrow and the rest of the week. Shout out the patrons, and I think we're good to go. I have no bottled water today, so I'm drinking a Coke. I usually like to drink water when I'm podcasting, but I ain't got any. I have an empty refrigerator right now. So anyway, to answer Crash's question, and Devlin, thank you very much, dude, for the generous $20. I'm going to get to yours right after we talk about Road Warrior Animal, because that's what I want to open up with here. Oh, I saw that actually on Twitter, Devlin. Congrats. We are going to talk about you in just a minute. That is awesome news, brother. Anyway, we got the news this week, I believe it was on Wednesday, of the passing of Road Warrior Animal, which was really shocking because he was 60 years old. And that's young. And Road Warrior Animal, not that he didn't have his share of fun back in the day, but he was really regarded as the most straight and level-headed and straight arrow member of the LOD. We know Hawk had his issues, a lot of issues, and he paid the price dying in his 40s. That didn't seem to be the case with Road Warrior Animal. We still don't know, at least I haven't heard, what happened here. Apparently he was even on vacation or something like that. He's been doing some work recently. He's active. He was on the Dark Side of the Ring episode just last season when they were chronicling the Road Warriors and Hawk and all that stuff. And that's a shocking loss, and it's a really, really sad loss. You didn't expect him to die that quickly, and I'd be interested to know what it was from and how and all of that. So thoughts go out to the Laurinaitis family. I know his son who plays in the NFL, and Johnny Ace, of course, who's a part of the backstage roster in WWE. Thoughts are with them. That's a terrible loss and a shocking loss. I first saw the Road Warriors in 1984, and I saw them in a wrestling book. And I'll never forget, I was about 8, and it was like I was just starting. I was about 3 years in, maybe 4, into like knowing what wrestling was, you know, as far as like seeing it on TV and kind of getting it. But I still had a very young brain, and I didn't understand anything. And I remember my mom or something, they got me these like wrestling books. They were black and white, and it was like a wrestling magazine, but like in paperback book form. And I was thumbing through it, and really at that time, all I had really seen on TV was a little bit of AWA and WWF. Hadn't really seen anything else, and plus back then there was like 5 stations on TV. You know, we didn't even have cable, so it was kind of tough to see any type of wrestling. So when I'm thumbing through this book and I'm seeing all these wrestlers, I don't even know, my brain can't even comprehend what it's looking at. That was probably my first introduction to Ric Flair as well. And I remember thumbing through the book and seeing a picture of Paul Ellering and the Road Warriors. This was back when they were still kind of wearing their biker gear. You know, they had a lot of leather going on and shit like that. And they were kind of like walking down a staircase or something. And there's a lot of the trees on either side of them. And they're standing there posing. They're big and jacked up, and they got the face paint. And I was like, who the fuck are these guys? You know, and in that very same book, I saw characters like the Missing Link and Exotic Adrian Street. And as an 8-year-old kid looking at these characters, you see the Road Warriors, then you see the Missing Link, and then you see Adrian Street. I was pretty much blown away, and I thought this was some weird sort of underworld to the wrestling business. I just didn't understand. And I remember that was the very first time I ever laid eyes on the Road Warriors. And they were 80s, especially Animal. 80s in every sense of the word. The Mohawk, you know, and how big he was. And they were main eventers everywhere as a tag team. And even when they broke off, they would do Japan a lot. and they would both main event there every time that one of them went to Japan, because they did split up like after their WWF run for a short time. And anytime Hawk or Animal, excuse me, like shoo my cat away, anytime either one of those guys were there, they were in the main event teaming with or facing the top stars in Japan. They were champions everywhere they went. They traveled every territory, and they were over based solely on their look and how big and bad they are. And on top of that, they were just ass kickers, and they were stiff as hell in the ring. They beat the shit out of everybody they got in there with. They were the greatest tag team of all time in terms of the mark they made during that time. You can argue that other teams won even more belts and more promotions and more titles and all that, but you know, it's different time, different types of resumes. They are probably the most well-known, worldwide known tag team there ever was, even above someone like the Dudleys or teams like the Dudleys who won titles everywhere. And even the Hearts and the Bulldogs and stuff, you know, the Road Warriors had such a longer run. And the cool thing about their team is they were equally important to the team. There was no Jannetty on the Road Warriors. Hawk was extremely athletic. I mean, he was so smooth and stuff, but Animal was like just that powerhouse ass kicker. Either one of those guys could get a hot tag in either match. It didn't matter. There was no underneath member. There was no guy that stood out above the other. They both cut good promos. They both looked like $1,000,000, and they both beat the shit out of you in the ring. And Road Warrior Animal was a good dude. He was a great guy. Everybody spoke extremely highly of him. Smart, intelligent, down to earth, and but you know, I emphasize smart because they were great businessmen. You know, they made sure they got their money. They made sure they got paid, and they would balk at things that they didn't think it did well for the Road Warrior characters, but not in a way to where they stepped on too many toes. You know, they might have ruffled a couple of feathers here or there, but nothing like what a Hogan did or a Savage did or guys like that. They took care of themselves, but they also put guys over. Won championships everywhere. Worked with smaller teams, put them over too. You know, they knew what to do. They knew how to keep themselves relevant and strong, changing their shit up, changing territories, changing their look up, and they were trendsetters, man. And that's just sad. So both members of the Road Warriors now are passed away. That's just horrible to think about, and kind of thought that Animal would be with us a little bit longer than he was. But rest in peace to Animal. He was one of my absolute favorites. Tell him, Hawk. Love that, you know, in every promo. Love their WWF run. When they finally got there, one of my favorite SummerSlam tag team match, or my favorite tag team match actually of all time, was Hart Foundation and Demolition when the LOD got involved there and helped the Hart Foundation win. They finally won the belts a year later at SummerSlam, defeating the Nasties, and hung around for about another year after that before taking off, and Hawk had some problems. But ironically, one of my favorite Road Warrior memories kind of came late at the end of their run. It came in '97 when they returned to WWF in the Manhattan Center. And that was one of my favorite Monday Night Raws ever. Just the shock of them coming back. You had no idea. You know, the little bit of the dirt sheets that were out there at the time weren't reporting this. Nobody knew they were coming in. They were previously on Nitro a little bit. But even then, they felt kind of past their prime. They didn't feel like the Road Warriors on Nitro. There was just something more generic about them. It felt like the magic was gone when they were on Nitro in like 95, late 95, 96. But when they came back and they had the red shoulder pads and they had that old music, because their WWF music was the best theme they ever had. And I love that theme. It sounded so good. Their WCW theme sucked. When they showed back up, I just remember, even though there was only about, 400 people in the Manhattan Center, that pop, that Road Warrior pop in that tiny-ass building, and even me popping at home was like, wow, haven't seen them there in 5 years. Never thought they'd be back, you know, and to see them in the ring, that was just one of my favorite, you know, Road Warrior memories. So anyway, just wanted to pay a little bit of tribute there to Road Warrior Animal, because that is a very sad loss. And rest in peace to the Laurinaitis, or to Road Warrior Animal, and condolences to the Laurinaitis family. In terms of Crash's question, though, where I was, that was my day away from everything. That was on Wednesday. I was in bed, and I woke up, my phone was ringing or something, and I kept my phone on, and I scrolled through Twitter, and I saw it. And I started to tweet something like rest in peace or whatever, but I was just like out of it. I had so much going on that day, and I didn't even tweet anything. I actually just canceled the tweet, never tweeted, even though I had Dynamite and NXT on while I was working here and doing some stuff, I never tweeted about anything. I stayed a complete full day away from social media, and just thought I'd gather myself and give my thoughts on Road Warrior Animal this weekend for the podcast. But that's I found out in kind of a strange way. It was very It was a very busy day for me, and I had so much on my mind. I read it. I was sad, but I had to focus on what I was doing, and figured we'd talk about Animal when I had the time. So that's kind of how I found out. But, you kind of get numb to the wrestling deaths after a while. So it's not like I fell on my ass in shock or anything. It was just, wow, another one, gone a little bit too soon in this case. But anyway, let me scroll up here and knock out a couple of super chats, including from our friend Devlin. Thank you, dude, so much for the $20. Hey, Greg, hope all is well with the move. Got the news this week that I made the rank of sergeant, which will be a decent pay raise. Hope this move ain't too stressful for you. Also, we should be called the Good Mike Work Universe. No way. We don't want to do that. I don't want to copy WWE. I don't like their universe nickname. We got to be family. I think family's better. But congrats, dude, on the promotion. That is huge. And you guys who don't know Devlin, he's extremely young. So he's getting these promotions and really increasing his career at a young age. Moving up a lot in your early 20s, dude, with a lifetime ahead of you. You are literally half my age. And you've probably already succeeded more career-wise than I did since I've been in the restaurant business my whole life. But good for you, man. Very happy for you. And I got a question for you. Why do our brake lights look like parentheses? Did you notice that? Anyway, just thought I'd shout that out there. But dude, that's great. And no, the move isn't too stressful. It's a little bit unsettling. I don't like moving because there's a certain amount of vulnerability to it. Like I feel displaced. Like all my shit's all boxed up. I don't have the comfort of my home. I don't like that. Even though, it's a 10-minute move down the road. It's not a big deal. We'll knock it out. I'm just ready to get it done, kind of get moved in and get settled so I can get back to life. You know what I mean? There's just it just gives you an uneasy feeling for some reason. I don't know why. But I'm ready to get it done. But other than that, it's not really stressful. It's actually quite exciting. So I'll keep you guys posted on all that on the social meds this week. Couple other news tidbits I want to get into before we jump into some Retribution news. AEW had a COVID outbreak. They had several talents testing positive. They've even updated their protocols in terms of what they're doing prior to Dynamites and stuff. I think they have at-home testing and on-site testing now. So you're getting 2 tests. And this week, prior to Dynamite, Lance Archer tested positive. He took to Twitter to announce this news, and they had a big 6-man main event scheduled for Dynamite that included Lance that got changed last minute to Kingston and Moxley, which we'll talk about later. So that's a little bit scary because they have been allowing fans in, and also now that independent promotions are starting to run shows a little bit here and there, a lot of these AEW talents can take bookings. So they're traveling, they're around more people. They are increasing the possibility of spread and contraction and things like that. So between that and just, AEW continuing to produce TV, now they're letting fans in. We heard, in the NXT side of things, who also got a few positive tests as well, that there was some talent and staff parties that people attended and spread it. AEW's probably doing the same thing. This is not good. This is going to be an ongoing and everlasting threat, to where wrestling shows are going to be probably consistently uprooted and changed last minute due to positive tests. And sometimes these can affect big time main events. It makes you really worried for WrestleMania because we saw what happened this year. They lost Goldberg and Roman, but they survived that because Strowman got the belt, and now look at what Roman's doing on TV, so no harm done. But what if you have some mega match planned, like the match I'm about to talk about in a minute with The Rock against Roman Reigns, and the day of WrestleMania, Roman tests positive? That sucks, man, that you always have to worry about that. Not only the ongoing health of the talent or whatever, but the possibility of really, really screwing up planned and scheduled and advertised matches. This whole situation sucks. So it struck AEW pretty hard here, but luckily, as we'll talk about here in a minute on Dynamite, they landed on their feet with that. Dynamite was fine. The match that they had replaced made sense, and it was good. And I really had no issue with it. I probably preferred what they did on Wednesday to that 6-man anyway. So I was fine with it, but it still sucks, and it's going to be constantly a factor in everyone's lives for the rest of our fucking lives. So anyway, best of luck to everybody in AEW. Stay safe, and hopefully everybody gets over it, and, the spread at least comes to a halt a little bit. And same goes for NXT, because they've been dealing with the same thing. And speaking of WrestleMania and matches possibly being added or postponed or whatever, The Rock recently spoke on the possibility of facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and he said a couple of things, including that would be the match if he did come back that would make the most sense. And he even gave away the outcome by saying it would be an honor to put Roman over at WrestleMania. So I don't know how smart that was, Rock, even though I think it's pretty obvious that Roman would win that anyway. Don't spoil it, dude. But yeah, that's the match that we've talked about for the past year or two. WrestleMania was scheduled to be here in LA. Really don't think that's going to happen. But that would have been an excellent arena for that to take place. The Rock against Roman Reigns right here in LA. Holy shit. I really thought that they would pencil that one in. They still might pencil it in. It just might not be here. Might be in Tampa. Might be in the Thunderdome. We don't know where we're going to be next year. But, you know, I don't know if I want to see The Rock in front of virtual fans. I really hope by then we do have an audience. But that's going to be a big if. But yeah, that's the match they absolutely should do at some point. I mean, I think the window's closing on The Rock getting back in the ring anyway. I don't know how good that match would be in terms of in the ring. It wouldn't matter, you know, just to see The Rock back there for the first time in 7 years would be pretty cool, or 8 by then. So we'll see what happens next year. The Rock's busy too in wrestling. He was asked by Ken Shamrock, who's going to be inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame. Shamrock just outright asked him on Twitter, "Yo, Rock, it would be really cool if you'd say something for my Hall of Fame induction." And The Rock responded. He goes, "Absolutely, brother. I'll get to it right away and send it to you this weekend." So very cool of The Rock. It's not like he's appearing in Impact. He's just going to cut a promo on his cell phone, paying tribute to Shamrock, and they're going to play that on the video wall at the Impact Hall of Fame. But still, really cool. I guess you could count this as a Rock Impact appearance. This would have been a big deal 10 years ago. It means absolute shit now. But that's nice of The Rock. Just goes to show you what a good guy he is. He is a action movie star, one of the most highest paid actors in all of the world, and he still appreciates his roots. He still appreciates wrestling. He's still willing to get back in the ring. He's still willing to do a tribute to somebody that he worked with, 23, 22 years ago in the WWE. And remember where he came from. So that's very cool of The Rock to do that. I think it's just an awesome thing, and it's another good example of why the dude is so fucking great. So anyway, we'll keep a lookout for that. That should be fun when it happens. And you know Impact is going to cream themselves over this. Oh my God, they're going to put it all over Twitter and social media. They are not going to shut the fuck up about The Rock appearing for them. It's going to be a great day for them. So good for TNA, good for Kenny, and good on The Rock for doing that. Very, very nice gesture there. Before we get into a couple of things about Monday Night Raw, because I want to just touch a little bit on Retribution, because they were busy on social media this week. So we're going to get into that before we start talking about the Wednesday Night Wars. Then we'll wrap things up with SmackDown and Clash predictions. I want to also shout out Michael Cuomo. Thank you, brother, for the $5. Is there footage of when Money Inc. defeated LOD for the tag titles back in February of 1992? I don't think so. I've never really looked for it. It would probably be a fan cam type of thing, but it was never released on a videotape from what I remember. I remember tuning in to Superstars or whatever show I was watching and seeing the belts on Money Inc. and being like, what the fuck? It was kind of like when Brett beat Flair. I just turned on wrestling one day and Brett's got the title. Huh? I literally had no idea. I was like, well, how long have I been asleep? What year is this? Like, I had no idea what was going on. It was kind of the same deal there. Well, shit, there was 2, though. Wait a minute. I'm getting confused. I think... No, that was the Natural Disasters. I think Money Inc. also beat the Natural Disasters for the titles. That was on TV. But the LOD match, I don't think was. So, yeah, I'm going to say no on that, but double check me on that. Who knows? Michael, thanks for another $5, dude. Went to a house show at Nassau back in June of 97. LOD took on the Godwins, I believe, but they had hands down the loudest theme I ever heard. Yeah, their theme was awesome. Loved their theme. I was actually in the building just a few months later when the Outlaws beat them for the title. First ever tag team titles for the New Age Outlaws in Fayetteville. I was there. They were fun. They were a fun team to see live, man, because they got that pop. They never not got the pop. Maybe at the very, very, very end when they were LOD 2000 and Hawk was drunk, maybe the cheers subsided a little bit, but all the way through 1997 there, they got the Road Warrior pop every time. Yeah, right, Devlin? They do. Parentheses. Why the hell? Desmond the Wolf. Thanks, dude, for the $5. What's your favorite moment in WWE history? My favorite moment was on my 10th birthday when Dean Ambrose cashed in Money in the Bank. Holy shit, you are young. When was that, dude? 2016? Nice, man. I'll try to watch my language around the young in here. What's my favorite moment in WWE history? Man, that's tough, man, because I'm such a Bret Hart mark. So I'd probably say like WrestleMania 10, SummerSlam 91. But I saw the Andre body slam live, so I'm going to have to go with that one, still just kind of etched in history. It's still in WWE's intro signature opening. It's kind of an iconic moment, so I'm going with that. I'm going with the Hogan Andre body slam. That catches up the supers. Let's talk about Raw. So I'm not going to get into Raw last week. We're just going to talk about one angle. We're going to talk about Retribution. Now, last week on Raw, they revealed themselves, took their masks off, and to show that it was Dominik Dijakovic, it was Mercedes Martinez, it was Dio Madden, and it was Mia Yim, and also Shane Thorne. But that's not what their names are. They now have new names. Everybody's been given new names and basically just forgetting who they used to be. And they all have these like weird nicknames. I believe they are Teabag, Nutsack, Church Fart, and To-Go Box, I think. And Taint Sweat. Those are the 5. And Teabag was very vocal on Twitter yesterday, especially yesterday, trying to explain away the nonsense. Because as we heard on Monday Night Raw, Retribution revealed that they all now have WWE contracts. And literally the entire WWE universe in unison went, huh? How is that? Why do you have contracts? That makes zero sense whatsoever at all. And I know there's a lot of anger and a lot of people are like poking fun. I think there's less people angry about this. And that's the one cool thing about the Retribution stuff is that, yeah, everybody's trashing it on social media, but I don't see like the hate and the vile anger that I sometimes see over like when Roman Reigns wins a match or something. And that's kind of nice to see because I think even the fans can't take this shit serious enough to get overly pissed at it. It's more funny and more just laughable than it is infuriating. And you can see already, you can see a shelf life on this thing because every time there's a situation like this, I think back to the Alliance, and I was there at that show too, Survivor Series 2001, when they lost. The rule was, or the stip was, everybody's going to be fired and WCW is going to be dead or the losing team goes away or whatever. But all of the talent stuck around. They found ways to get back into the company and start developing singles runs of their own under the WWE umbrella. When this Retribution ultimately fails and they lose at Survivor Series, which is probably what they're going to do here, then it's like there's going to be a stipulation to where all of them are fired or something, and then one by one, you know, Mia Yim will get a job or something like that. I don't know. It feels like that's the direction they're going in if they just realize that the fans hate this and they just want to end it. However, there's still a lot of room for it to grow because as we saw on Monday Night Raw, like 40 guys came out. So there's a lot of members here. More can be revealed, and I still think even though T-Bar is the leader, or he's presenting himself as the leader, I still feel like he's the evil Uno of the group. I still feel like there's somebody else pulling the strings. There's one major leader, and not only will we get more members revealed, we might get a leader revealed. And they could do something cool like Keith Lee, because another part of this angle that makes no damn sense at all is Mia Yim is a part of this, and WWE has made mention of Keith Lee and Mia Yim's relationship. They've even had mixed tag team matches together in NXT. So you can't ignore that and pretend that you have two separate audiences here. You don't. Everybody knows the situation here, and Retribution jumped in the ring and screwed up the Keith Lee Drew McIntyre match a couple of weeks ago. So I'd be pretty pissed off if my girlfriend put on a hood and came and fucked my match up. We might have to have a talk later. So if it turns out to be Keith Lee is a part of this Retribution, maybe that becomes known at Clash of Champions on Sunday or something, or there's some sort of other swerve or twist that could potentially save the angle. I'm open to it, but so far this makes less than 0 sense. T-Bar even went on Twitter, like I said yesterday, to try to explain some of this. And one of the first things he tweeted out was about the contracts. He says, WWE offered us contracts because it was financially cheaper than all of the security guards we kept injuring. How stupid is that? That makes 0 sense. Just call the police and arrest all these assholes for not only trespassing, but assault. You are in jail, and you ain't getting out anytime soon for breaking into an arena, damaging shit, and beating people up. That's vandalism. It's breaking and entering. It's assault. So many things. You can probably pile up 40 charges on them if you wanted to. Kidnapping and all that shit. He goes on to say that we signed the contracts to pay for our hired guns to do our dirty work. Our goal is to destroy our current employer, WWE. Then, well, I'll say then later. So that initial tweet right there is stupid. He says to pay for our hired guns to do our dirty work. He seems like he is one of the hired guns. Wasn't he out there? Wasn't he in the match? And he just got randomly disqualified because he just bopped whoever the fuck it was on the head and then the referee called for the bell. Like, they're now in the WWE. They have contracts, and the reason for the contracts is because WWE is scared that Slapjack is going to injure all their security guards. Bobby Lashley could beat all these guys by himself. Just put Bobby Lashley at the door. They won't get in. It's ridiculous. Like, this is like their explanation. Like, I wish they would have like had at least like even this is dumb too, but like a match for a contract or something happens to where you're able to force your way into a contract. They just announced this shit on Raw. There was no segment showing it. They didn't kidnap Vince McMahon, you know, and hold a baseball bat to his head and say, sign the contract now or your skull is done, you know, or something like that. They didn't do anything forcefully. It was like WWE backing down and saying, okay, we're so scared of Slapjack and Mia Yim that we're going to give you contracts because we have nobody else in the company that can possibly combat you. Forget the fact that we can put Braun Strowman and Dabba-Kato and Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton and Keith Lee and the big guy that protects Shane McMahon and any other badass, Samoa Joe, Bobby Lashley, the entire Hurt Business for that matter, you know, and couldn't take these guys on and beat them? Fuck yeah, they could. So it makes no sense. It's not believable. Not that it really would be anyway. We know it's a work, but like, come on, at least try here. So even though I think T-Bar's tweets were kind of dumb, at least he was trying to explain it. At least he's trying to make this work. He's trying very hard. He actually argued with fans and all sorts of people all day yesterday on Twitter. And then finally, at the end of the night, he tweets, I'm going to bed. T-Bar is going to bed. Does he sleep with the mask on? WWE, you are vile and wretched. You are a vile and wretched entity consumed with greed, and we will destroy you and your disgraceful superstars with our hellfire. I'm opening comments on this one. Have at it. Good night. I don't like the idea of T-Bar telling us he's going to bed. That's weird. And they have such contempt. There's such a vicious hate for WWE, yet they work there. Like, if they got contracts, aren't they subject to everything else that's in the contracts? Do they get special treatment in here? Like, can't they be fined, suspended, let go, fired, terminated, anything like that? You know, and what are they going to do? Oh, if you fire us, we're just going to come back and keep beating people up? I don't know. It just seems strange. I wish that they would have done something with Adam Pearce, because I've mentioned that I think Adam Pearce is a part of Retribution because his security team sucks, and I think maybe he's doing that by design, doing that on purpose to help Retribution infiltrate the WWE. But since he's one of Vince's right-hand men, I would have liked to see him involved in that contract situation where he did something or made a split-second decision and signed them all to contracts, and then you do a segment where Vince gets pissed. Why the fuck did you do that? Or whatever, you know, it's too late now or whatever, you're fired, and then Adam joins Retribution or something like that. Even though that I think would still at the end of the day be stupid, it would make more sense than this. So the fans that are out there, you know, freaking out that it doesn't make sense, they are right. And T-Bar is insisting that it does make sense, but it doesn't make sense, and that's the only thing. So who knows? I could not stand the Dark Order when they first started, and Brody Lee is like my favorite person in wrestling now. So I've done a complete 180 on them. I'm not saying that Retribution is completely hopeless. I think that there have been cases of angles in wrestling, especially WWE, of things that are so bad they turn good. This could be one of them. And plus, WWE, it's not like they can't not see this stuff. They can't not see the fans giving so much shit to this angle. They have to understand how ridiculous this is, and they need to, you know, instead of continuing to shove it down our throats, they need to change it up or try to make it make more sense or involve a twist or a swerve or something like that, or have some sort of payoff that we say, oh, now we get it kind of thing, where you just don't see anything like that happening now. And on top of that, they're only targeting Raw. In all of T-Bar's tweets, he kept saying, you know, we're out to destroy the WWE. Then why are you not on NXT? Why are you not on 205 Live? Why are you not all beating up all the little cruiserweights? You know, why are you not on SmackDown and all those other shows? Why is it just Raw? Or are you doing one at a time? First Raw, then the next one, then the next one. I suppose isolate and destroy type of thing makes a little bit of sense, but they keep saying that WWE is, you know, their main target and all this, so it's just weird. Don't get it, and I think it's a mess, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I just wanted to comment on that because now that Retribution seems to be in full swing and we've got the names and all that stuff, it just gets dumber and dumber by the hour. So we'll move in now to the Wednesday night stuff. Let me cruise over here, answer a couple of more super chats that I think rolled in. There's one from Alex Dredge. Good to see you, man. Appreciate it. My mother was diagnosed with COVID today and is in the hospital. Just want to say thanks for providing great content to take my mind off things. Absolutely, man. Best of luck and well wishes to your mom. Hope she's okay. The fact that she's in the hospital is a little bit alarming. And the best to you. Please keep us updated on that, and we hope that she gets well soon. Very, very scary stuff. Devlin, appreciate the $2, and that's a very good point. New Day. New Day's an excellent example. New Day was awful. I remember doing podcasts saying things like they're failing to connect, something is missing, they're getting no reaction, because they didn't. Even I still am not a huge fan of the New Day music. It's too, I don't know what the word is, it's too quiet. Like, it feels like there's too many gaps of silence in the music. I think it needs to be a little bit more high energy and stuff. I almost wish that they kept the music the same, but like spiced it up a little, how they did back in the Attitude Era, how they took that original rock theme and kept working with it until they got to where they were in like 2002, where it was just this badass version. I kind of wish they would have played around with the New Day music a little bit. I think that would have helped, but they didn't need the music to get over because all three of those guys are super entertaining, especially Big E, and look at where they are now. So New Day is an excellent example of angles and factions that suck and turn out to be good. So I'm not going to be one of those fans that is dooming this angle. I think anything has a chance to get over. But so far, it's just all, it's dumb. Like, I can't think of any other word. It's more funny than anything else. Like, is when they started revealing these names. I'm like, are you kidding me? Mace and what, Slapjack for real? Slapjack? Flapjack? God damn. So anyway, Raw should be interesting. I'm actually a little bit bummed out that I'm not going to be here this Monday to review Raw because there's probably going to be more ridiculousness taking place on Monday. So I at least will be watching that, or at least doing my best to watch it. And maybe I'll offer some tweets. But in terms of doing a review, it's just not going to be possible. But hope you guys have fun Monday watching that. Let's move in, briefly discuss NXT and AEW for this week. Like I said, I'm not going to run through too much of this. I want to kind of blow through both of these shows relatively quickly here so we can get into SmackDown and the Clash. But we'll start with NXT, and we'll talk about the ratings as well, because I want to talk to you guys about this and speculate, who do you think this mystery former champion is that's coming in? They opened with this, I believe, with some mystery person. It's kind of in that green, almost like a hacker type of lighting, you know, like computerized matrix lighting looking shit, or night vision, I guess. And it's almost like in this back room, and there's like a glass case with 2 NXT championships in it. And it looked to be the men's and the women's. And it's kind of like a voice distortion, and they're talking about how there's been paper champions and they're coming back to reclaim what's theirs. And you know, they take something and throw it at the case, and it shatters the case, exposing the belts or whatever. So they're basically making mention here that a former champion is heading back to NXT. I think this is great because it can really, really ramp up a lot of speculation as to who it can be, because you kind of have a finite number of people it can be if it is truly a former champion, which the vignettes lead us to believe. So I think 2 of the biggest names that I saw on social media right off the bat was Bobby Roode, who's been rumored to come back any day now, and Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas. I like that idea too, but who's to say it's a man? You know, it could be a woman, might be a female wrestler, which again, if it's a female wrestler, there's not many. Was Ember Moon ever champion? I don't think she was. Was she? Shit, I don't remember. I don't think Ember Moon was champion. Unless Shayna beat her. No, that was Kyrie. Anyway, might be Ember, but I don't think it is. But if it's a male wrestler, then Bobby Roode or Bo Dallas. I don't even think I want it to be Bobby Roode. I'd rather just keep Bobby on SmackDown or something. Bo Dallas, however, would be an amazing choice because he was one of the first ever NXT champions. I think it would have even been cool in that glass case with the belts if they had the old NXT title in there. That would narrow it down. You know, Samoa Joe, Bo Dallas. And you think about Bo Dallas, Somebody put a clip up this week on, oh yeah, Ember was champ for like 2 minutes. Okay, it could be Ember. It could be Ember then. That's true. Because it was kind of like they kept going back and forth between like a male distorted voice and a female distorted voice, if you notice in the vignette. So I don't think it's necessarily has to be a dude. It could be a female wrestler, and I think Ember Moon would really be the only choice there if it was female, correct? Am I missing any other woman? Because Shayna and Asuka, ran with the titles for so long, and Kyrie and Ember were in there. But other than that, you'd have to go back quite a ways. Charlotte's out right now, but it's not going to be her. Yeah, I think Ember, Bo Dallas, or Bobby Roode. I think Bo Dallas would be the most fun because, like I said, somebody put up a clip the other day of how he exited NXT back in 2014 or 2015 before he went to the main roster, and they literally had to drag him out of there. And for him to come back, he'd have to try to be serious because every time we've seen him on TV in the past few years, he's been a complete comedy act. So if this is a complete gimmick overhaul for him, that could be interesting. I've always liked Bo Dallas. I kind of think he got a raw deal. He was the first one. He was the first guy, I think, that jumped from NXT to the main roster that set the trend of WWE just ruining everybody that they bring up. Almost everybody. A few guys, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Nakamura, they can win some championships here or there, Aleister Black, but the rest of them are just garbage compared to what they were in NXT. And he was probably the best example of that, being a former NXT champion and being part of the B team. Like, what the fuck? So he would be interesting, but I think Ember Moon would also work as well. What do you guys think? Ooh, I like JR's. Paige. What's her deal? We know she suffered the neck injury, but Edge came back. There's probably still hope for Paige. I think Paige would be a possibility. It would all depend medically. If she's been quietly cleared. We've seen that happen before with Daniel Bryan, with Edge. Why can't it be with Paige? Come back and work in NXT? That might be interesting too. But probably not. Oh, Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler is a bold prediction. That is a bold prediction. I was under the assumption that I had to be a former champion, but maybe not. Maybe they were just showing the belts to say, I'm coming for these or something. So it could be Dolph. Might be exciting. Yeah, the Bo Dallas exiting was funny. Was funny. Yeah, I think those are the best options so far. Bo Dallas or Ember Moon. I was hoping to get some sleeper picks from you guys, or maybe somebody that you just throw out there so far. Paige is the craziest one. Yeah, the Ascension and the Vaudevillains, really good examples too. My God, they were pretty over in NXT and nothing. The Ascension, nobody's ever going to recreate or duplicate the Road Warriors. Nobody's ever going to come close. But if you want to have a throwback team like that's a little bit 80s and a little bit of Road Warriors, Powers of Pain, and Demolition all rolled into one, I thought in a modern form, I thought Ascension did a good job of portraying that. And they were a joke, complete joke, non-threatening jobbers on the main roster when they were big ass kickers in NXT. What a mess. Vontae, Paige is your sister, Vontae. Tell her hello. Tell her hello. Yeah, with Wade Barrett being there on commentary, I'm curious myself if he will do an angle just like Samoa Joe. At some point, somebody's gonna mess with him and he's gonna get back in the ring. And I think maybe Barrett, it could be the same way. Oh, the vignette did say former champ. Okay. Yeah, because if it doesn't necessarily have to be a former champ, it could be a Tessa. It could be somebody like that. But if they're making it known that it's a former champ returning to the brand, then yeah, I'm going Bo Dallas or Ember Moon. Those would be my two top picks. Maybe with a third to Bobby Roode, but I don't think Bobby Roode would really add much to NXT. Where I think Bo Dallas would be fun, and Ember Moon, we miss her. Bobby Roode, he can stay on SmackDown as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, show opens up with the advertised match from last week, women's Battle Royal #1 contender match. The big names in here were Candice LeRae, Shotzi Blackheart, Rhea Ripley, and Raquel Gonzalez. A lot of new girls as well. Tegan Nox is taken out backstage prior to the Battle Royal starting. So she's taken out by Candice LeRae. She's not in the Battle Royal. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez kick ass in there. Both eliminate a bunch of women. In the end, they cancel each other out and eliminate each other, which really lightens up the field there. And now it's kind of down to just, Shotzi and Candice was pretty much who you thought it had to be at this point. Turned out to be the two of them in the final, is the final two in the ring. Candice wins. And I think that was the right call there. Johnny Gargano joins her to celebrate out in the ring. She will now face Io Shirai at TakeOver, which, like I said, is 1 week from today. So that's interesting because, the Tegan Nox thing is still going on. Tegan has had all sorts of problems with the Garganos lately. And maybe she can kind of come get her revenge against Candice at TakeOver. I don't think Io Shirai needs help to beat Candice, but if Candice did pull off some sort of crazy upset over Io Shirai and won the title, she could then feud with Tegan for it. But I think that's a stretch. So, I don't think I'm going to get up here for predictions this week, but right now I'm probably going to predict Io Shirai to retain. And, like we would see, like I'll talk about in the main event, this is one problem I think we have in NXT right now. And on top of that, the takeovers seem to be becoming really frequent. Are they now monthly? This is a bad idea if they're monthly. That's not what NXT is about. If they're monthly, then they just become Raw and SmackDown. They just become the same shit, which is what we were worried about the minute it was announced they were moving to the USA Network, is they were going to take on more of the identity of a Raw and SmackDown and less of the identity of that good original NXT. And I think that's a really big problem here, and I don't like that it seems like every time we get a new contender, they become the contender by winning a multi-person match of some kind, an elimination type of match, or a fatal four-way, or a battle royal, and we saw that twice tonight. Just once. I would like to see somebody start winning, get over, rack up a bunch of big victories, and then earn a title shot the normal way. Like, why is every single time they make number one contenders, they do it in this fashion? It sucks, and it's like a cop out. It's not even creative. They don't have any, they don't have like the endurance to do any sort of long-term booking here because they're just flying by the seat of their pants all the time. And Triple H should know better than this. So I would just like to see less of these. I don't mind seeing them sometimes. They're a staple in wrestling. You always have some number one contenders matches. Go ahead, have at it. But you don't need that to determine every single title and every single championship. They're doing it with the tag team shit too, which is actually the funniest segment on the show on Wednesday was Fandango's Sherlock Holmes outfit trying to figure out the new challengers for Breezango. So all three titles, their number one contenders are being determined in just a crazy ass way. And I'm just sick of that. Let's just do it a little bit more traditionally here and there. And just don't turn into an NXT version of SmackDown. That's like not going to work. Anyway, like I said, Fandango's backstage. He's dressed as Sherlock Holmes, and he's got this whiteboard in the background, and he's got all the team names. He's got all the guys, the members of the team written down, and they're all spelled wrong. He's got Uno Lorcan, Billy Fish, Robert Strong, Fabio Acne, and he's got basically what he wants to do is take all of the members, mix them up, put them with different partners to face somebody else, and then something else happens after that, and then they figure out who faces Breezango. So it's a long, drawn-out process. William Regal shows up. He doesn't like any of it. I think Danny Burch proposes something, and Regal's like, okay, we'll do that, and that was that. But just to see Fandango with all those names written funny was hilarious to me. Couple of quick matches here to discuss. Tommaso Ciampa defeated Jake Atlas, and Damian Priest defeated Austin Theory. So we had some pretty decent matches there, even though Ciampa and Atlas was good. Jake was really like kind of aggressive. He really had like something to prove. But in the end, Ciampa's kind of back to being that vicious heel, so he wasn't going to lose that. And we know Damian's not dropping any matches to Austin Theory right now, so those weren't that surprising, but they were both good, solid matches. Main event time is we have the Gauntlet Eliminator match. This is kind of like an Elimination Chamber type of deal or a War Games deal where they enter one at a time in like timed intervals. And it was Kyle O'Reilly taking on Bronson Reed, Kushida, Cameron Grimes, and Timothy Thatcher. And in the end, we got a victory from Kyle O'Reilly. That's kind of random, but when you looked at the field here, I thought it might be Thatcher or Bronson Reed, I wasn't really thinking Kyle O'Reilly. And I feel like an idiot because I should have thought about Kyle O'Reilly. It's about time he got a shot. He's awesome. I think a lot of fans loved that outcome. A lot of stuff going on, too, in the match, like Velveteen Dream showed up and all that shit. But, O'Reilly got the win in the end. And I think the reaction to most of the fans online, from what I could see, was positive. They know, even though it's like predictable, I cannot see Kyle O'Reilly beating Finn Balor for the title. But what we are guaranteed to get is a damn beautiful match at TakeOver between these two. So, again, it's another multi-man situation to determine a number one contender. That's getting very old in NXT, but at least it produced a really good title match for TakeOver. And I'm not expecting any sort of big surprises here, but I suppose you could do the Randy Orton thing when he beat Benoit, and now O'Reilly beats Balor. And then maybe Undisputed, the wheels kind of feel like they're coming off them a little bit here. And maybe that creates a rift. Maybe that creates some dissension. Maybe Adam Cole gets a little bit jealous. Maybe they do the Triple H thumbs down thing and attack Kyle O'Reilly and beat the shit out of him. I don't think so, because I think Adam Cole will wind up maintaining his babyface status, I think, or being a babyface. But that could present a lot of fun if they did put the belt on him. I just can't see it happening. I think Balor's going to run with it for a while, and I think he should be the one to hold it until Karrion Kross comes back. If you start passing that belt back and forth between guys when you can already make a case that Balor is in an interim or paper champion role anyway, I don't think that does the title any favors, so I'm not taking it off Balor right now unless he had a really strong opponent. This is a random opponent, albeit a good one. Still not one that I'm comfortable with making champion yet. But really happy that Kyle is getting this match because the dude is awesome. And how cool would it be if he did win the title? He'd get to play air guitar all the way down to the ring. Oh, my God. I'd pay to see that. So I'm not saying I'm going to be disappointed if he beats Balor, because at least we get to see that. But if I'm booking things, I ain't doing it that way. By the way, NXT drew 696,000 viewers for the week to AEW's 835. So more talk. Every time AEW beats WWE, there's going to be talk about NXT moving to Tuesday nights. I've been saying the past few weeks, I'm okay with them waiting. I know that eventually this game of chicken is probably going to have to end and somebody's going to have to move, because the networks will probably make that happen or say, all right, enough's enough. We want higher numbers, so let's move out of the way. And so we can, we can continue to grow. Or WWE and USA might be content from just being there and preventing AEW from getting like 1 million viewers. Maybe they know they're not going to win. Maybe NXT there is just there to be a thorn in their side. I've pitched the idea of AEW moving to Mondays. I know that would never happen, but I'd be interested to see how Dynamite performs against Raw. Because back when TNA did it, they had no chance. The ratings were 3 and 4 times more. Here, it would not be that way. Raw would probably still win, but they wouldn't kill them. They wouldn't kill him. AEW would take a lot away from Raw. I think Raw would get like 1.2s and AEW would get like 800,000 or something. Something like that, I think. I think it would be like kind of close there. And I just think it would be interesting to watch them perform against a top brand, because they're very, they're very excited. They're the demo gods and all this, and they tout their victories over NXT. And the more and more you look at it, with NXT not doing a whole lot differently with their shows, they're still producing and having the same type of feel to their shows. It feels like to me like they're not really that interested in beating them. They just want to hinder their growth. And that might be the ultimate goal there. So we'll see. I want the Wednesday Night Wars to continue a little longer. I think back in the day, back when, Vince was so out for blood, they would never move nights like that quickly, and they would see it through, because they didn't with Raw. All those weeks that WCW was beating the hell out of them in the ratings, they didn't move then. And it was a lot worse of a beatdown than this. And back then, USA was probably like, man, if we moved to another night, we could probably double our audience. And they never did. So they didn't do it then. I don't know why they would do it now, but I can kind of understand if they did move NXT over to Tuesday nights. We'll see. But I'm fine with them not doing it for as long as possible. So we'll move on to Dynamite now. They had an interesting week because they also had a late night Dynamite on Tuesday night, which I did not see. None of it. I'm very, very sorry. I'm also way behind in the G1. My plan was to keep track of that whole thing, but the move has screwed everything up. So I'm way behind on that. I'm going to try to have some of that on and catch up with it tonight as I'm doing more packing and preparation. But in terms of that and the late night Dynamite, completely ignorant to both. Didn't see him, so I apologize for that. But in terms of Wednesday night Dynamite, show opened up with Kip Sabian and Miro making his AEW in-ring debut, taking on the fun tag team of Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, who I love. Miro looked pretty good. He is just in ridiculous shape. Did appear to maybe twist his ankle a little bit on the outside of the ring. I think he was kayfabing that, though, because he did get back in the ring, and after a little bit more competitive of a match than I would have liked, wound up hitting the Machka kick and putting the Accolade on Sonny Kiss, and they did call it the Accolade. I don't know if he trademarked that or what. That's cool. I don't know what they called the kick, but I don't think it was the Machka kick. But they did call the Camel Clutch the Accolade, so we'll see if that sticks. And that's pretty cool. And again, I think the Sabian pairing is just kind of an introduction for Miro. I think eventually, that was a way to establish his nickname. I think the Best Man is a great nickname for Miro, and it works and it fits, and he's already got the t-shirt, and we're rooting for him hard on this channel, that's for sure. But a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want him just to be a sidekick to Kip Sabian. I don't really see it that way. I just think that's his introduction to TV. It establishes his nickname. They're going to do the wedding and the thing, and then that's all going to be over, and then Miro can be on his way. I really don't think it's anything negative, and I think Miro's alliance with Sabian will either be one of those deals where he will just wind up murdering him, either at the wedding or after the wedding, or he'll just beat the hell out of him and kick his ass or whatever, or he'll still go with separate ways, but always kind of have like a friendship with Sabian on screen. Maybe they'll bump into each other backstage, shake each other's hands or whatever, but not be involved in the same segments and everything. Maybe something like that. But eventually, I believe Miro will be kind of doing his own thing and could be getting some title shots. Him and Moxley back together and all that stuff. So we'll see how Miro does, but just good to see him there. Good to see him in the ring, and we all love Miro. We had an Eddie Kingston promo up next. This was good. He comes out to the ring and talks about the title shot that he's now getting. This was all announced previously in the day on social media because, like I said earlier, Lance Archer tested positive for COVID, I believe the day of the show. He tweeted out that he wasn't going to be able to perform in the six-man main event that they had planned, which kind of sucks for Will Hobbs because he just got there and he's ready for his his big AEW Dynamite moment. So that whole match was scrapped. And Moxley put the title on the line instead against Eddie Kingston. And what I noticed earlier on that day, even though I wasn't active on social media, I was reading a little bit of it, trying to keep track, and people were bitching, what? Doesn't make any sense. What's Eddie Kingston getting a title shot? AEW has a ranking system and all that. I'm really surprised that people get that annoyed with that stuff. Like, random challengers come out of the woodwork all the time. All the time. In every promotion, all the time. Not even that weird. And at least this makes a little bit of sense because for the past couple of weeks, Eddie Kingston's come out on TV and says, I was never eliminated from the Casino Battle Royal, which the winner gets a title shot. So they landed on their feet here. That match got canceled last minute, but they got a challenger that they can just throw out there and make a match and just give Moxley a good challenger. And he even has a reason for getting the match because he was never eliminated from the Battle Royal, and he's been in the business for 18 years, and he deserves a shot. To me, I accepted that. I was fine with it, and I'm never going to be upset about a champion putting their title on the line on TV. I'm cool with it. So, and plus you knew Moxley's not dropping the title in a last-minute announced match against Eddie Kingston. Not going to happen. It's going to be a good match between two kind of violent type of wrestlers, and Eddie talked a lot about that in the promo. He went on to maybe take some shots at WWE because people were giving him shit because I guess he's gone on record saying he never will take shots at WWE or he would never do that because he feels like he's more creative than that. But he took a hell of a lot of shots at them here. I mean, it was disguised in shots at Jon Moxley, but he was still trashing WWE. He calls Jon Moxley a sellout for going to the land of sports entertainers. And they used to be cut from the same cloth. They used to be violent type of wrestlers. And then Moxley went and sold out, but Eddie stayed. Making it sound like he had the choice. WWE's like, hey, you want to come wrestle for us for $5 million? Nah, I'm cool here. I got a booking tonight. I'm going to make 75 bones, and I'm cool. So I kind of laughed at that a little bit. But Eddie is the best talker in that damn company, man. He's great. So he puts it over, he sells the match well, and he really insults Jon Moxley and where he came from. And he says, you cannot come into this ring with me after you've been a sports entertainer for the last 10 years and think that you can hang with me in a violent type of match. I liked all that, and it made me excited for the match. He even called out Moxley. Eddie Kingston's fearless. Called out Moxley. Moxley is also fearless. Gets in the ring, nose-to-nose type of thing, setting up the main event later. I thought all that was good. We had Hangman Page taking on Evil Uno. Of course, he got the win here. Kenny Omega was back on commentary for the second straight week during Page's match, kind of putting over their issue. He seemed like he was a little bit harder on Page last week than he was this week, but you can tell I still don't know what the friggin' payoff here is. Obviously a match, but I want to see both of these guys kind of expand and kind of start developing their singles paths, because they're both world title contenders, and that just adds more, great wrestlers to the mix there. So I'm ready for whenever their next pay-per-view is, that big clash between Omega and Page. Maybe Omega finally goes heel and kind of resembles a little bit more of what he was in New Japan. I hear noises. Is it a cat? No, we're good. After that, TNT title was also on the line on Dynamite. Brody Lee defended against Orange Cassidy. Cassidy mounted a pretty good comeback here, but I'd say for the most part, this felt like a squash, which that's good, because Brody Lee, I think, needs to continue to be put over like a monster after what he did to Cody. Orange Cassidy is just coming off his big victory from Chris Jericho, but still, I like the fact that Brody kind of had his way with him here a little bit and had nothing, and he wanted no part of the shin kicks or all the Orange Cassidy shit. He just clotheslined him right out of his pants a couple of times and just beat the hell out of him in the end, won with the discus lariat. And after that was kind of a cool moment, but a moment that worries me greatly. The lights go down. We hear that very, very familiar music, and oh shit, I think Cody is back, because he left to go film that TV show, I think, after losing a few weeks back to Brody. Music hits, Cody comes out, he's back, and he's got the dark hair again, which I like to see. A lot of fans thought it looked weird, but I feel like I'm still more familiar with dark-haired Cody than light-haired Cody. But even though he's had the light hair for quite a few years now, so he's back to being the brunette. He kind of looks like a vampire a little bit. He's got like a pocket watch. Then he's in a suit. He gets in the ring. He runs off the Dark Order, beats up a couple of them, puts one of them in the figure four, I think, and then Brody Lee kind of retreats and goes away as Cody stares him down. And then in the back after that, Brody Lee cuts a very angry and loud promo, pissed off about Cody coming in like he did, and challenges him. He actually just happened to have it on him. I don't know how. Challenges Cody to a dog collar match and holds up a dog collar and says, you've got 1 week to decide if you accept my challenge or whatever. So next week, Cody is going to, I'm sure, accept the challenge for the dog collar match, and that'll come on an upcoming Dynamite, or I don't even know when their next pay-per-view is or how far off it is. So it's probably going to be a Dynamite match, and I don't like that, because Cody, man, I don't want him to win the title back. They just smashed Brody Lee over by having him just annihilate Cody the way he did, and now he's just killing everybody that gets in his way, and it's only a few weeks into this run. This is what WWE would do with Roman Reigns. He would lose the title, or John Cena. They would lose the title or something, and then the guy that beat him can't even get out of the blocks with his run, and then they're back beating him for the title again. So I like Cody. Cody sometimes gets a lot of flack from the fans, but I like Cody. I've always liked Cody. I will always root for Cody. I liked Cody as the TNT champion. But based on the way he lost, and Brody now being established as somebody that I care about a lot more than when he debuted as the Exalted One and fell a little bit flat and debuted that goofy ring gear, and it didn't feel like it was really connecting much. Now all of a sudden, I've 180'd on him, and he's literally my favorite guy in AEW. So don't beat him now, this quickly. No, I can see Cody getting the title back down the road one day or something, but if you're going to have a guy that's this dominant, keep him dominant for a little while before you beat him again. It's just not time. If they have this match in 2 weeks and Cody wins the belt back, that seems like something WWE would do. They'd ruin a push, or they'd they'd cut one off when it's actually going pretty well and all the fans are into it, and then they're like, oh, nope, back to our golden boy babyface or whatever. So this is not something I recommend at all. I actually hope that Brody beats him and then Cody goes heel. That's what I would do. Because if Cody just goes right back to being the babyface TNT champion, not that he still can't turn heel, but it's just, we literally just saw that. So I'd rather see him lose again and then, just become a bad guy or something. I don't know. But putting the belt, having him beat Brody in a brutal match like that, he's the son of the American Dream. I understand. American Dream would not back down for a dog collar match ever. He worked he worked the strap match, I believe, with Superstar Billy Graham, or the bull rope match with Billy Graham back in the 70s. The Rhodes family has it in their blood, and they know how to be violent and vicious, but still, I don't want that to happen. So I vote no on the Cody title win. We'll just see. AEW hasn't established how they do things yet. They don't have an AEW way of doing things, where WWE clearly has their WWE ways of doing things. So I'm trying not to look at this through WWE eyes, because if this is WWE, Cody's winning. But I'm hoping AEW has got a little more damn sense than that, and they will not sabotage this Brody run, because it now finally has a chance to really get over, and you will be killing a lot of momentum if he beat him here. That's my opinion. What do y'all think about that? Next up, we had... Yeah, I know Cody doesn't need the belt and all. He can make all those arguments. None of that matters. The fact that they're putting him in a rematch, a dog collar match, makes me nervous. That's all. I don't want him to win the belt. I wouldn't even say he doesn't need it. That doesn't make sense. He doesn't need it right now, but every wrestler needs a belt. I'm not a big fan of that. Jake didn't need a belt. Yes, he did. He's a wrestler. I'm not usually a fan of that idea, because you hear it a lot with guys. I think it's a way to justify guys who haven't won belts before. Andre didn't need a belt. Jake didn't need a belt. What the fuck were they there for then? But Cody, you would think, his goal is to win championships. So he absolutely does want this belt. But I think the next belt he should win is the world title. I don't think he needs to be anywhere near this TNT title. That's Brody's now. Let Cody lose, become a heel, maybe challenge Moxley. I'm fine with that. Just not Brody. I want Brody to remain strong. Beating him in a dog collar match would not do well for him. I don't think. Anyway, next up, we had Matt Hardy out in the ring. He's calling out Chris Jericho. He was attacked last week, and they're trying to make it look like Jericho did it because he was nearby, but I think the story is going to wind up being it's somebody else. So who do you think was Matt Hardy's assailant last week? Do you think it's somebody new, somebody debuting, somebody turning heel? I like the idea of one of the Private Party guys doing it, or both of the Private Party guys doing it, which isn't bad. Matt Hardy calls out Jericho. Inner Circle comes out to the ramp. They bring back Sammy Guevara, who's been out ever since, I think, the Matt Hardy match. And then Private Party comes out with Matt Hardy, and it was just a really awkward promo. Not good. These guys are not ready for prime time. Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn both challenged Jericho, but eventually I think it's Cassidy that offers the official challenge to him to a one-on-one match next week. They wrapped it up with a really kind of awkward line saying, I'm going to make you my le bitch or something, or my le champion bitch. Didn't come off very well. Later on backstage, Chris Jericho is interviewed, and he would accept the challenge. And I'll talk about that interview in just a second, because it was hilarious. After that, a lot of weird shit here with FTR and Tully Blanchard and Tony Schiavone in the ring. Tully going out, were they in the ring? I think they were. Tully goes on this long-winded explanation to why he wants to change the 60-minute time limit for tag team title matches to 20 minutes and call it your 20 minutes with greatness or some stupid shit like that. So that winds up leading to them being confronted by the Best Friends, who kind of come out to issue the challenge or whatever, and looks like they're setting up that match for down the road, which is good because the Best Friends just won that awesome parking lot fight last week. So them getting a title shot here, why not? But apparently time limits are now going to be 20 minutes. I don't understand the point of this or whatever, but it's just FTR and Tully continuing to brag about how fucking great they are. After that, we had a tag team match with Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa, who wore the very cool animal paint. Love you, girl. defeating Ivelisse and Diamante. Like that a lot. Just cool to see Thunder Rosa with that tribute there. Next up, we had MJF and Chris Jericho again backstage. This is where Jericho accepts the challenge from Isaiah Cassidy. And I said last week that I talked about Jericho, like everybody that he's worked with or teamed with has seemed to benefit from Jericho. Think about everybody that he's had matches with, like Pineapple Pete, you know, and all the series of matches he's had with Orange Cassidy. Jericho is in the ring a lot with a lot of like the younger talent. He seems to be enjoying this role of working with him, you know. And when you're somebody like Jericho, you don't have to put this guy over or anything, but giving him in the ring, giving him that rub, giving him some offense can only help. And I like that Jericho, you know, really does feel like he's somebody that's, I don't know, like giving back a little bit. You know, when Undertaker wrestles at 55, he's not in there with fucking Kyle O'Reilly. You know, he's in there with Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, or somebody like that, or AJ Styles. He's got to be in there with a megastar. Jericho's kind of doing it the other way. And I like that. You know, I like that that's kind of the role that he's under in AEW. And I think that, you know, eventually he could, because he's old, you know, he could still have one more maybe run as a babyface. I think he should have a babyface run in AEW. And that got me thinking, because MJF and Jericho are backstage and they're face-to-face here, and they both kind of have excuses for both of them being caught on camera last week calling the other loser. And MJF was like, I was calling my limo driver a loser. He's a loser. You see how close he parked to you? And then Jericho's like, well, I wasn't calling you a loser. I was calling Tony Schiavone a loser because he is one. And then they, you know, kind of have a little laugh over the misunderstanding. And they're like, you're a good guy and you're a good guy. And, you know, kind of kiss and hug and leave. And it got me wondering because, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week too, MJF was on TV recently kind of implying that he wants to find a faction. He wants to create a faction or be a part of a faction. And we talked about this possibility of him maybe starting his own or joining the Inner Circle. And the only problem I had with that was like, I don't know if MJF can be a member of a faction. I almost think like somebody like MJF, with all his shit talking, he's got to be the leader of a faction. So what's Jericho up to these days? You know, has Jericho got any Fozzy plans? Does Jericho have any other outside interests that he's doing? If Jericho has any plans to step away from AEW for a couple of months, maybe you could have MJF coming in and being the leader of the group in place of Jericho. I think he would be an equally as entertaining leader of the Inner Circle as Jericho, especially if Jericho like gives him his blessing. Like now they've kind of, you know, they kind of implied they don't like each other, but then they do like each other type of thing. They trust each other. And I like you, and I like you too. You're a good guy. Yeah, you're a good guy. Very passive aggressive, but you know, they still you know, underneath, they probably detest one another. And Jericho's got to leave, or maybe they do a kayfabe injury with him, you know, where he injures his leg and he comes out there on crutches and he goes, I cannot perform as the leader of the Inner Circle right now, so I'm going to leave it in the hands of your interim leader, the only guy in the AEW locker room that I trust to fill my shoes, the one and only MJF. And by that, you know, also Wardlow gets absorbed into the Inner Circle as well. Now they're really strong. And Jericho's like, good luck, Maxwell. I know you're going to do well. I'll see you in a few months. Pats him on the back and leaves. And then MJF excels as the leader. They do a lot of great things, win a lot of matches. Jericho heals from his injury, comes back, and MJF doesn't want to give the throne back. And then Jericho, and then maybe Inner Circle attacks Jericho. They kick his ass, boot him out of the Inner Circle, and he's now a babyface. Maybe by then, Moxley has dropped the belt to MJF in a rematch or something. Now with the help and the backup of the Inner Circle, MJF is now your AEW champion with the Inner Circle backing him up. They kick Chris Jericho out. He comes back as a babyface, challenges MJF for the title, and wins the title in his final world title victory of his career as a babyface, with all the fan adulation and the crowd cheering and all of that. And then 1 month later, he drops it to heel Cody. What do you think? I think all that would work. So my mind really got racing just based on that one promo with MJF, but I can see where they can take this if they wanted to. It just, I don't know, just depends. I think all that would be fun and all of that would work. Finally, we have our main event, Jon Moxley taking on Eddie Kingston. His brother Kofi was not at ringside with him, which was a shame because he had an uphill battle to face this badass champion. Kingston is a bad dude, but not as bad as Moxley. The chop spot was crazy in that. Kingston put on a good showing. I mean, he's older now. His body's not what it was, but he can still fight like a bastard. My God. In the end, Moxley first puts a rear naked choke on him, and then a different type of choke, modified choke or something, and the referee winds up stopping because Eddie Kingston, not only did he never lose the Battle Royal, but he did not submit in his championship match against Moxley either. Referee called for the bell, so Eddie would not die. After the match, the Lucha Brothers came out and attacked Jon Moxley. Will Hobbs and Darby Allin also came out to try to make the save, but they were taken out by Ricky Starks, and I think Brian Cage might have even been out there as well. Can't remember. Starks has got the skateboard in Darby's neck, and the heels just beat the hell out of Hobbs, Darby, and Moxley, which was supposed to be the babyface half of the six-man tag in the main event anyway. So even though Moxley got the win, the heels stood tall to close out Dynamite. Not one of their best shows, but still not bad either. Is basically how I'd grade that. I would probably give the nod this week to AEW for the better show. I mean, I enjoyed Kyle O'Reilly winning the gauntlet thing, but and I enjoyed Fandango and shit like that, and I'm intrigued about the mystery person, but overall, I'm going to nod it to Dynamite this week for the better show of the Wednesday Night Wars. We'll move in here to Smack You Down. Let me just make sure I'm not missing any other supers. I think there's one from Antoine that I got to hit, and I think that's it. Antoine, where'd you go? Thanks, dude. Appreciate the 2. They are waiting till next year. Well, now I don't remember what I was talking about. Whatever that comment was, but thank you. Good to see you, Dan Price. What's up? Yeah, yes, exactly. So, I mean, I think the way that I laid that out was perfect. He takes over. Jericho comes back as babyface. Maybe you could even put the belt on Jericho. He can get a final run on his resume. His final world title victory will be a memorable one because he'll do it as a babyface with all the cheers from the fans. It'll be a short run, and then he drops it back to either a heel MJF or a heel Cody. Because didn't Cody lose the match to Jericho that didn't allow him to get another one or something like that, right? So what a full circle moment, if that were to happen. But yeah, I think a lot of us are smelling a Jericho face turn, and that might be fun to see. I'd like to see Jericho because he's got the long hair again. We haven't seen him with that super long hair in a while. I'd love for him to do the top of the head ponytail. I would love that. Sparkly jacket. Come out the way he did in 1999. I'm not sure if he can pull off leather pants with that delicious dad bod of his, but I think he should try. Yeah, Jericho face turn. I'm into it. Let's get into SmackDown, and then let's predict the Clash. And then I got to get my ass up out of here and head to work before my crazy next 2 days begins. Like I said, SmackDown was getting all sorts of shit on social media, but then I watched it and I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed the show. Show opened up with a Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, and Jeff Hardy promo. They're hyping up their big ladder match. Apparently, there's supposed to be a one-on-one match or something like that between Hardy and AJ, I think. Sammy gets involved. It turns into a triple threat. And we get a triple threat match right before the match, which that I didn't like. But the match, I mean, these three guys working together was still great. And what surprised me here is Sami Zayn got the win. And now all the way up until last night, I had set in my mind that I'm going to predict Sami Zayn to win the ladder match because I think that will be really fun because I love this version of Sami. I love his scruffy hair, and I just love, his obnoxiousness. So him winning here, to me, made all the sense in the world because now he can brag and just never shut the hell up about how he's the real champion, which is what he's doing right now anyway. But they had the triple threat match here early, which I don't know why they did that. It's going to be the same exact match this weekend or tomorrow, except there's going to be a ladder involved. But the fact that he won now is now making me probably not going to predict him. And as a matter of fact, after the match, the brawl kind of continues, and AJ Styles climbs up to the top of the ladder and grabs the belts and poses with them. I think even his music played. So Sammy won the match, and AJ got the moments with the belts, which makes me think 33 booking means that Jeff Hardy will get the victory on Sunday or tomorrow in the ladder match. And maybe what they'll do is have Sammy win the title after. Maybe he won't win it in this ladder match. Hardy will retain, and then Sammy will still beat him for it, but just not tomorrow. That I could live with, but I kind of wanted to see Sammy win the ladder match, but I think that's Hardy's match, and it's probably a better match for him to win anyway, so I think I just gave away who I'm going to be predicting in that later on. We had more nonsense with the lawsuit with Otis And the briefcase, Otis and Tucker are back there with Miz and Morrison. Miz is bragging about how strong his lawyers are, and they charge $2,000 an hour, and he's going to make sure that Otis is going to be in months of litigations and depositions and all this shit, and the briefcase is going to be tied up in the courts forever. I don't know how any of this makes sense either. It doesn't make any more sense than the Retribution stuff, if you ask me. In the end, Tucker realizes, Tucker's reading through the contract. I still think Tucker's going to turn heel. I still think that's going to happen. I think Tucker might be instrumental in Otis actually finally losing this briefcase. Tucker realizes that the contract says, or the lawsuit states that The Miz is the only member of the team that can be given the briefcase. And he mentions that. Morrison looks surprised, and then Otis attacks and a fight breaks out. So we'll see if that causes problems between Morrison and Miz, because, Miz is clearly out for himself here and not thinking about his partner at all. We had another preview. They do this all the time. Every time there's a tag team title match, you have to have one member of the team face the other every fucking time. It's never been any different. So in this case, we've got Nakamura taking on Lince Dorado, because Nakamura and Cesaro will be defending the titles against the Lucha House Party tomorrow. Nakamura won the match, and after Shinsuke leaves, the Lucha House Party has more dissension, pushing and shoving and all that. So I cannot see these guys winning the titles tomorrow. Matt Riddle dropped a match clean to Baron Corbin. That's weird, because I thought that was finally over. Here's one thing I will say about the match, though. Even though it surprised me, even though everybody in the world hates Baron Corbin, it was a good match. If you can't watch Baron Corbin and Matt Riddle and appreciate the good match that it was, you're not a wrestling fan. You're just not. You're a selfish bitch. I don't like Corbin as dumb bald head any more than anybody else does, but I can look past that when the match is good, and you have to wonder why that outcome happened. Is there more going on here with Matt Riddle than we know about? There's he's got those accusations against him right now that he's still dealing with, and there's going to be some lawsuits involved there. So this might be WWE's way of kind of treading water, pumping the brakes, just chilling out on him, because it felt like he was going to be in line for an Intercontinental title match at some point. He should be in that ladder match. Should be a four-way with Riddle in there. So the fact that they've kind of put him back with Corbin, a feud we already didn't like, and matches we've already seen, the two men saved it by having a good match, but it's like, Jesus, that's the last thing I wanted to see. If this match would have sucked, if this match would have been 4 minutes long and ended in a DQ, I'd probably be pretty furious that they went with that, because it's just so lazy and uncreative. But the match was good. Corbin won clean, and I don't think in the grand scheme of things it's going to mean too much for Matt Riddle, provided he comes out clean on the other side of all this nonsense. I think this is WWE just holding off, still featuring him on TV, but they're not going to put him over crazy, until things get a little bit better, and then they can kind of go back to it, is what I think they're doing here. But it's never fun to see somebody that I love, like Matt Riddle, being beat by somebody that I hate, by Corbin, but I can appreciate the good match, and I wish more fans would. We had another vignette for the mystery woman, whoever this is going to be, getting a little bit better look at, her body type now and trying to figure out if it's somebody we recognize. Last week, I actually said I thought it was Sasha, or at least I thought the stand-in was Sasha, because I thought I recognized some dark hair underneath the blonde. And the skin tone and the size and everything kind of resembled Sasha. So even though I didn't think it was going to be Sasha in the end, maybe she was just the person for that night type of thing. This time we get a back shot of the blonde. She's writing on a mirror. It says untouchable. So I guess that's going to be this person's nickname. Still thinking Carmella. We got a little bit, I'm not trying to sound like a gross here or anything, but we got a little shot of her chest, and it definitely was not Charlotte. We know that. Somebody mentioned that they think it was Charlotte. It was not her. But Carmella is still an option, but I'm almost thinking it's not her either. But I think Carmella is the most likely choice here. She's being repackaged, which is great. She's been off TV. She's the only one here that makes sense, but there is part of me that wonders if it's somebody else. Maybe it's definitely not Melina. We know that. It's not Eva Marie, thank God. It's not Lana or Emelina or Tennille Dashwood or whatever. I don't think it's her either. It's probably Carmella, unless somebody else has some awesome suggestion or some awesome idea of who it might be. I can't think of anybody else that it would be other than her. But I think they are trying to throw us off a little bit. Maybe having different women pose in this position. I'm not sure, but she's going to be blonde, wearing an evening gown, and she's untouchable, apparently. So look for her debut soon. This was good. Now it gets into the good stuff here in the show. We've got Alexa Bliss taking on Lacey Evans here. Alexa has been showing up on TV kind of more and more disheveled. You know, she's got a match here. Now her hair is just a mess. You know, it's kind of up in the Harley Quinn type of way, but it's all just mangled and messy and snaggy and all that stuff. And she's having a regular match with Lacey Evans until the lights go out. The red lights come on. You kind of hear some fiend noises, and Alexa immediately gets possessed. Lights come back on. She's got this crazy look in her eye. She viciously attacks Lacey Evans, just starts beating the crap out of her, stands on her, and starts bashing her head into the mat with her foot. And the referee's like, oh shit, this is murder. Ring the bell. Calls for the DQ. Alexa then takes Lacey Evans on the outside of the ring, nails her with the Sister Abigail, and she's just got this crazy look in her eye. This is fabulous stuff. This is fabulous. I love. Is it really that hard to do some like long-term booking here? I love that, you know, weeks and weeks back when The Fiend did that to Alexa, that has had this lasting effect on her. And as long as they don't shit the bed here with the payoff or whatever this is going to wind up being, and maybe Alexa is going to be a permanent sidekick of The Fiend, maybe she even slowly starts changing her look up a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, they put some of those colored contacts in her eyes, and then one week she comes out with red eyes just randomly. Well, look at her eyes. Is she changing? Is she turning into a monster? I can even see her. I hate to cover up her pretty face, but she can even have like a cute little girly Fiend mask. Might be kind of cool. Start using the mandible claw along with the Sister Abigail as like a tandem finisher or something. I don't know, but I like it. I like it a lot. And then after she's done beating the hell out of Lacey, she's walking up the ramp, and Roman Reigns is coming down to the ring. His music hits. He's not even looking at her because he's got his segment up next with Jey Uso. He's coming down to the ring, and they do this just brilliant, like of all the camera work we complain about in WWE, their shaky shit and how awful they are and how dizzy they make you. This was a fabulous shot here because they kind of did a wide angle, and you could see all three. You could see Heyman, Roman, and Alexa is just doing this glare. She's kind of looking behind her, staring at Roman, and just staring a hole through him. He doesn't see it, but she's staring at him. And that's great foreshadowing because we know we're going to get another Fiend and Roman Reigns match. So the fact that she did that, I just thought was just a great little piece there. Awesome stuff. And then it got better when Roman and Jey Uso get in the ring. And Roman, you know, I like his new demeanor on the mic. He's not the angry, loud heel. He's almost like the quiet, methodical heel. He was talking to Jey very calmly, you know, almost like in a calm killer type of way, and says that you have no idea what it's like. You have no idea the burden of being the WWE champion. You have no idea of being the person that the family looks to the most. I am the crown jewel of the family. The family depends on me, kind of thing. You will never know my burden because you're just a member of a tag team. And then he leaves. He doesn't attack him right there. He leaves, and then Jey gets on the mic and cuts a really good promo as well, really heartfelt, really emotional promo, and says that, you know, that Roman is right. You know, when they see him, they do see the WWE champion. And he goes, when they see me, they ask, which one are you? Which, as much as I love the Usos, and they've been in the company now for 10 plus years, I ask myself that same question even after a decade later. 10 years, I still don't know who's who in that team. And they're like my favorite team in WWE. So I like that line because he's right. This is a chance for him to prove himself. And it was good stuff. I mean, even though we feel like we know this is going to be a throwaway match, Alexa Bliss has a better chance of beating Dabba-Kato in the Raw Underground. Actually, now she probably could with help with The Fiend. She's got a better chance of doing that than Jey Uso does here of beating Roman Reigns. But you still are interested now in the match. These two guys did an excellent job of getting it over. They did a great little promo piece on the family legacy and the history there. Rikishi was involved in that. They've been building this match well, even though it's going to be a straight-up murder. Complete murder. But they've done an excellent job building for this, and you want to see it. So Jey Uso says what he's going to say, drops the mic, starts walking up the ramp, and Roman comes blasting out of Gorilla and nails Uso with a Superman punch, stands over him holding the title as the show goes off the air. And that sets us up for tomorrow, the big title match with Roman and Jey Uso. So that brings us to the Clash predictions. Let's go ahead and get into this here. and run through these matches. A total of 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. We'll start at the bottom of the card. A lot of controversy this week. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of controversy. A little bit of controversy. Asuka against Zelina Vega was announced to be on the kickoff. Now, on Raw, my Raw review on Monday, we were talking about that match because it was just made. Zelina beat, I think, Mickey to earn the shot. And I said right there, that will probably be a kickoff match. Or the Lashley and Apollo match will be. I was like, one of those. Or I might have said a tag match, something like that. But I definitely mentioned Asuka and Zelina. Just a couple days later, it was announced that, or I think maybe it would have been the same day. But anyway, it was confirmed by WWE that this match would indeed be on the kickoff. Fans freaked out. What? Asuka's WWE Women's Champion. She's one of the top stars in the company. It's an insult to her to be on the kickoff. A lot of just bizarre outrage. I'm like, Asuka's like my favorite person on planet Earth. Asuka and Brody Lee. I want them to be my roommates. Nobody else except for them. They are great. And maybe Big E and R-Truth. The 5 of us would have a great time together. I love her. And this doesn't even bother me whatsoever, even a little bit. This is a inferior opponent, if you ask me. We've all known Zelina as a manager. We haven't known her as a wrestler. I thought it was weird enough that she was sticking her nose in trying to get a title shot to begin with, when I'm wondering where the hell people like Bianca Belair are, and why don't they want a little piece of this action? Why it's going to be Zelina. Then they give her a random number 1 contenders match against Mickey. She wins, gets a title shot. She's not beating Asuka. There is no way a random title shot given to her 6 days before the show to a manager is going to beat your toughest woman on your roster. No, it's not going to happen. I think this thing even has a chance to be a squash. I like Zelina. Apparently Vince is very high on Zelina. They want to start maybe pushing her. Fine. But she ain't beating Asuka here. I mean, she'll be lucky. I mean, it might be a competitive match. It might be a good way for Zelina to have a good outing. Sure, I suppose. But I want Asuka just to choke her out in 2.5 minutes and end it. There's no reason why that needs to be on the main card. It's not a disgrace to Asuka. It's not a big deal. She's not in a high-profile match. And every single match on the card is a title match. Something has to go on the pre-show. A title match has to go on the pre-show. Would it have been better if a tag title match or a U.S. title match went on the kickoff instead? Fine. But as far as this, like, upsetting me, no way in hell. Asuka wins, hands down. 1,000,000%. We also have Lashley defending the United States title against Apollo Crews. My instinct is just to say Lashley, but maybe Retribution, because they have had a lot of issues with the Hurt Business. They did last week. Could show their faces here. Cost Lashley the match. Maybe. But I don't want that to happen. I want Lashley to retain. So I'm actually predicting what I want more than I'm predicting what I think might happen. Because I think there's a very good chance that Retribution could get some revenge on the Hurt Business here by costing Lashley the title. But I don't want to see that happen. I want to see Lashley hang on to it and retain. We've got Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro defending the SmackDown tags against the Lucha Boys. I'm going with Nakamura and Cesaro on that. Way too much dissension in the house party right now. And that, we already have one team that I'm going to talk about in a minute that already has a little bit of dissension, and they could be winning titles here. I don't see that happening. I don't see 2 sets of tag team champions both having dissension. That would suck. So I'm going Nakamura and Cesaro to retain. But Angel Garza and Andrade have got a title match against the Street Profits. They'll be challenging for the Raw tags. They have now wrestled, I wrote it down, 114 times since June 1st on Monday Night Raw. I'm sick of this match. I also said on Monday night that I was kind of confused why Angel and Andrade even won that number 1 contenders match, because it seems like they've broken up on TV like 6 times. And they keep getting back together, and Zelina keeps piecing everything back together. That faction, that group is not going to have a good night if these guys lose to the Street Profits after Zelina gets murdered by Asuka. So I'm predicting a title change here. I'm going Andrade and Angel Garza to finally win the titles against the Street Profits. I thought they were going to win them at SummerSlam. I think I predicted them whenever their last title shot is when I predicted them to win, and they didn't. So I think to do this match again, just to have the Street Profits win again, is completely pointless. and is nothing but a buffer or filler match for this pay-per-view. And you've got to have some titles change hands here. And so far, I predicted everybody to retain. So let's go Andrade and Angel Garza to win the titles. The women's tags are also on the line. The Riot Squad, Ruby and Liv, taking on Shayna and Nia. Part of me thinks Ruby and Liv could pull off an upset here and capitalize on Shayna and Nia hating each other's guts. But I think there's, what's the word? There's mileage left. I like some of the things I've been seeing on TV with Shayna and Nia Jax. It's probably the most entertaining I've found Nia Jax so far. She said a couple of things on the mic that I've laughed out loud at, and I didn't think Nia Jax had that ability to make me laugh because she's boring as shit. But this has been pretty fun between them. I like that they hate each other. I like that Shayna is just fearless and just looks right at Nia and be like, you suck. I like that. I like Shayna's attitude. I think you can do more with this and have more fun with this. So I'm going to have them retain here and continue their run. And maybe Ruby and Liv, who I'd be fine with being tag team champions, would love that for Ruby Riott and my sister. But I still think Nia and Shayna need to win here, so I'm going to predict them to retain. I'm also going to predict Bayley to retain over Nikki Cross because the only match you have to do and the only match you can do is putting Bayley and Sasha inside the Hell in the Cell on October 25th for the title. So Bayley's got to retain here. Some fans have suggested that maybe Sasha could come out and cost her the match. Maybe, but no. She's got to keep the belt. It's got to be Sasha and Bayley in the cell. Let me do a refresh here and make sure we're cool. I'm still up, right? Good. All right. Next match up, we've got the Triple Threat Intercontinental Ladder match that I kind of spoiled earlier on. Jeff Hardy retaining against defending against AJ Styles and Sami Zayn and retaining. I think Jeff Hardy will win this match. I was going to predict Sami all along, but last night he won the Triple Threat match, and then AJ retrieved the belts to celebrate with them. The only guy that didn't get his shit in was Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy was one of the people that helped make ladder matches famous with those great series of tag matches he had back in the day. It's his type of match. It's his match. It's Jeff's match, and I think he's going to retain here. But I still think Sami Zayn will go on to win the Intercontinental title after that. I just don't think he'll win here. So originally I did, but I'm changing that. Jeff Hardy retains in the Triple Threat ladder match. Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against Jey Uso. What do y'all think? Jey? Yeah, Jey. No, I'm kidding. Of course, Roman is going to win here. Now, we have talked about as well in recent weeks that this really needs to be like a violent annihilation. Maybe not, based on what we saw on SmackDown. You know, Roman, there was a slight sense of hesitation with Roman, a little bit. Like, he doesn't want to have to murder him, but he will type of thing. And, you know, I don't think he needs any more help to be over as a heel. I think Roman is doing great. I've said this for years about Roman Reigns. You give this guy the right material, the right character, the right storylines, he will be phenomenal. All these people that took their anger to such a ridiculous degree, saying he sucks and he can't get a promo and he can't wrestle, is all bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. He can do all those things. It's WWE's use of him that sucks. Give him something to work with, he'll be great, and he's proven it. This Roman is wonderful. Now, I thought it might have to be a situation like Austin and JR when Austin first went heel. Fans were having trouble accepting that, and so they made him kick the shit out of JR in Oklahoma and bloody him up just to try to get him some legit heat here. And we thought it would be a similar situation here with Jey, where Roman not only beats him badly, but beats him bloody. I think it would be really good to see some blood here, and I still think that's a possibility, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could probably, at this point, based on the promos that we've seen, is Roman just doing what he's got to do, and he's going to go out there and essentially squash Jey Uso. I mean, I don't want it to be Brock and Kofi, but I'm fine with it being 2 minutes. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that match being 2 minutes. That's kind of why, I mean, and think about it, if Asuka and Zelina were on the main card and they were also a 2 minute match, you'd have two 2 minute matches on the same card. So I mean, Roman is obviously going to win here. It's just in the nature of how he does it, which will be interesting. If he just shows no remorse and he completely kills his family member, would make Thanksgiving very awkward this year if he does that. But you could also just see a straight up match, pins him and just walks away type of thing. But I thought it would be cool for Roman to like injure Jey Uso, like really seriously injure him, beat him bloody, mess him up something good. He goes off TV and doesn't come back until Jimmy's healthy. Then you bring the Usos back at the same time to either, number one, get revenge on Roman or possibly join Roman. We talked about that a couple of years ago too. What if Roman formed like a new Shield with the Usos? That would be cool. Might be cool here too if they did that. I don't know if that would, where Paul Heyman would fit in and all of that, but I think it could all work if they did that, especially when you're expecting the Usos to come back to get revenge on Roman, and instead they do, and they lead by the example that they've been setting and say blood is thicker than water, and we're gonna join up with Roman. So I think it could go either way there, but I think either way, Jay should be gone from television after tomorrow until Jimmy is healthy. That's what I would do. So Roman retaining there, which leaves us with the ambulance match. You guys are going to be surprised what I'm going to pick here. Drew McIntyre defending the WWE title against Randy Orton in an ambulance match. And I'm extremely reluctant to do this, but I'm going to do it. And I think I'm probably one of the only people predicting this. I think Randy Orton is going to win the WWE title for a bunch of reasons. Number one, Retribution. If they really want to make a splash here, you got to do more than just cost Lashley his U.S. title. You got to make an impact. The Raw title or the WWE title will likely be the main event here because Roman and Jey Uso is pretty predictable. Can't see that going in the main event unless WWE wants to bring out the Fiend or something, which is possible. Maybe after Roman kills Jey, Alexa comes out or something like that. That could happen. Alexa or the Fiend coming out at the end of that match could happen, but I still don't think that's going to be the main event. It's got to be the ambulance match, and that's a Raw angle. So Retribution can come out there and interfere and potentially cost Drew McIntyre the title. A lot of people would say, oh, keep Drew strong, don't beat him. You're not really beating him if you throw him in an ambulance and shut the door, because that's the point of it. It's kind of like a cage match where you have to escape. It's just so weird. It's such a weird rule. So you have to throw your opponent in there and shut the door to win, which means Drew can essentially lose the title without being pinned and without submitting. And I talked about this on Monday. The next pay-per-view is Hell in the Cell. If Drew McIntyre beats Randy Orton here, who is his opponent going to be at Hell in the Cell? We know we're going to get one Hell in the Cell match with Bayley and Sasha Banks, or at least we better, or I'm going to walk out. The only other angle I think in the company right now strong enough to warrant a second Hell in the Cell match, because we're going to get two, possibly three, but probably two on the pay-per-view, would be Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. They have both sent each other to the hospital. They've both caved each other's skulls in. They've broken each other's jaws. And it's been a vicious battle. And now you get an ambulance match. You had Drew winning the first match with a backslide, which is kind of fishy. Orton winning the next match by throwing Drew in an ambulance. Where's the blow-off going to be? Inside the cell. Orton versus McIntyre is a 3 pay-per-view program. I'm sorry. It's too big to not do 3 matches with. A lot of those title programs do run 3 pay-per-views, don't they? It's very common. So it's not a really weird thing to think about here. And it would add even more sense if Retribution got involved. I don't know why they would randomly help out Randy Orton unless they go out there and attack both of them, but Randy Orton wins in the process. Maybe they don't show any favoritism to Orton. They just go out there, fuck up the main event, and we get a new champion out of it. So then WWE can be, like I mentioned this on Monday too, this will be the rubber match, the blow-off. Randy Orton has now got his 14th title. McIntyre's pissed. I challenge you to Hell in the Cell because Retribution can't get in. The cell will be blocking them. Not that they can't bring the chainsaw out or box cutters or whatever the fuck and get in there anyway. They still technically can, but at least they would be somewhat protected from the interference of Retribution, and Drew can get his belt back, beat Randy Orton clean with the Claymore in the middle of the ring, in the cage, pinned 1, 2, 3, celebrates for the title, and maybe gets a little bit better of a world title celebration and victory and moment than what he got at WrestleMania. Even though it's still not with fans, the Thunderdome is giving a lot. It has that atmosphere that fans are there, and it could be a better moment for him, and maybe WWE wants to give him that, since we don't know when fans will ever be back in the arena again. And it can be a really short, tiny run for Orton. I don't mind a hot potato situation every now and then. It's okay. And have Orton take the title for a month or less than a month, and then drop it right back to Drew. And then maybe Randy Orton moves to SmackDown after that, because apparently they are going to do a draft. And then Randy Orton can start targeting the Universal title, a belt that he's never held. So I think if I'm booking things, that's the way I do it. I actually take the belt off of Drew here. You got a chance to do it where you're not damaging him. as a badass, especially if 45 masked dudes in hoods show up and toss him in an ambulance. No big deal. Anybody can lose like that. So then you do the rematch where he beats Orton clean definitively with his finisher, because that's another thing that still hasn't been resolved. He won with a backslide, and he's not going to get a chance to beat him with his finisher in this match either, because you got to throw the dude in the ambulance. It's not a definitive win. You know, it's not a good way to end the program with McIntyre just tossing him in an ambulance and shut the door. I suppose that could be a blow-off. I just don't feel it. I think Orton's got to win, and then they do a third match in the cell. Unless McIntyre retains and they still do a third match in the cell, that's possible. I suppose Retribution could come out and help McIntyre win, adding fuel to maybe McIntyre's in charge. Maybe Keith Lee could show up. The only problem I have with Keith Lee is I would hold off Keith Lee. Somebody mentioned, well, Keith Lee could be the leader of Retribution. He could come out and cost Drew McIntyre the title or something like that. Yeah, he could, but then you still got the belt on Orton. You know, and then, you know, and plus, if you're going to move into a Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre feud with Keith Lee as a heel challenging the champion McIntyre, we just saw that match 2 weeks in a row on Monday Night Raw. So I would finish up the rest of the month with Orton and Drew and then move into Lee and Drew in November or something. Well, then it's going to be Survivor Series and we're going to have to worry about a big Retribution match. So I don't know, but anything like that with Retribution getting involved here, they've been running their mouth all week on social media. They revealed themselves to us on Monday. For them just to be absent from this whole pay-per-view would be really weird. They were already absent from SummerSlam, right? That was weird enough. So if they're absent here as well, or Payback, right? They're also absent from there. So for them not to turn up here and wreak some havoc on WWE and screw up some championship matches, I think would be really strange. What the hell are they doing? Where are they? At Pizza Hut? Get your asses out there. Fuck some shit up. That's what you're supposed to do. So yeah, Randy Orton winning WWE title over McIntyre, and McIntyre wins it back in the cell. So just to recap, Asuka over Zelina, Lashley over Apollo, Nakamura and Cesaro retaining their SmackDown tags, Andrade and Angel Garza winning the Raw tags, Shayna and Nia retaining the women's tag over the Riot Squad, Bayley over Nikki, Hardy over AJ and Sammy, Roman over Uso, and Orton over Drew McIntyre with help from Retribution with the blow-off in the cell at the end of October. There you go. And I did it all in time. I still have 10 minutes to get the hell out of here and make it to work. So, yeah. That's what I think is going to happen tomorrow. And that will give us a total of, let's see, 2 title changes. But I think it's 2 big title changes. If you're having 9 title matches and only 2 of them change hands, one of them has to be a big one. And the world title would be a big story and a big deal. And that's why I have everybody else retaining except for the Street Profits, who I also believe will drop their gold. So, yeah, there you go. Let me know all your predictions in the chat here. And if you're watching this later, let me know in the chat below. Please do me a favor. The likes are pretty bad on this, so you guys smash that thumbs up button for me. Try to get my likes up. And I'd appreciate it. Let's see here. You've also predicted Randy Orton. Okay, I guess I'm not the only one. So McLean is also an Orton guy. Orton is probably the betting favorite. It's all about the stipulation. If this was just a regular match or something, I'm not pinning or submitting Drew at all for like the next year. But in something like this, you know, you can do it and it's not going to harm him at all. I'm not going to be one of these people, oh, whoa, they fucked up, they buried Drew. No, if 40 Retribution guys attack him and throw him in the ambulance, he is not buried. And plus it sets up just a perfect Hell in a Cell match because this feud really warrants one. It's been vicious. There's been hospitalizations. There's been serious injuries, concussions, skull fractures, all that stuff. You got to blow this off in the Cell. There's no other place for it to be blown off. And I'm assuming the Cell pay-per-view is going to need 2 Hell in a Cell matches. Bayley and Sasha can be one. Orton and McIntyre can be the other. And I think that's a very beautiful pair of Hell in a Cell matches. And maybe, just maybe, WWE can somehow recover and somehow redeem themselves from absolutely murdering the concept of the Hell in the Cell in the past 2 years. They got a chance to undo all that damage here if they try hard enough. So we'll see, because otherwise that Hell in the Cell pay-per-view is a joke based on what they've been doing with it lately. So they got a chance to make up for that, and I think that's the way they should do it. Booker Greg, giving you guys the rundown. Deshaun, good to see you, man. Appreciate the $5. Did you hear about Roman saying that he will debut new attire and music when the time is right? I did see something about that, but I didn't know it was Roman. I thought that was more rumor. Forgot about that. So Roman, he's still been wearing kind of the cargo pants and the tank top. We've been wondering if he's going to get new music. I don't think he necessarily needs it, but I think fans want it. I mean, it's been so many years of that Shield music. So if he does debut new stuff, I'm all for that. I hope he does. I think he needs to wrestle shirtless just to be a little bit more intimidating. He looked like a badass in NXT when he did that. So maybe the cargo pants and shirtless or something. I don't know. And I will be interested if he does debut new music, what that in fact sounds like. I hope it's pretty awesome. I'm very into that. I hope that's all true, and I hope it happens soon. And I guess he's saying when the time is right, so he's not necessarily doing that tomorrow, I should say. But it might be fun to see it happen tomorrow. Pay-per-view is as good a time as any. What's going on, Mr. E 1976? Glad you made it in here. You made it in here at the last moment because I'm about to get out of here and head my ass to work. So anyway, I want to thank you guys very, very much for hanging out in this final Winged Eagle podcast in this apartment. I will be up here tomorrow night immediately following Clash of Champions for a full show review. We'll talk all about it. We'll see how many of my predictions came true and how the future looks heading into the next Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. You guys have a great rest of your afternoon and a great weekend, and I'll see you in about 24 hours tomorrow night. Y'all be good. Peace.